Picture this. You're sitting perfectly still. Maybe you're just relaxing on the couch, reading a good book, or you're about to drift off to sleep in a super comfortable bed. You haven't been bitten by a bug, you don't have a rash, you're definitely not wearing one of those awful scratchy wool sweaters, and yet, seemingly out of absolutely nowhere, a random spot on your shoulder or maybe the back of your calf suddenly starts screaming at you for attention. It is demanding to be scratched. It's a universal, and let's be honest, utterly maddening mystery. Why do we feel this intense urge to scratch when there is literally nothing there? Well, welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to crack the case of the phantom itch. Okay, let's dive into this. It's just an incredibly frustrating experience, right? I mean, you look down, fully expecting to see a mosquito bite or a spider or something, but your skin is completely clear. It kind of feels like a glitch in the matrix. But the truth is, this is a deeply biological process. So our goal today is to launch a full-scale whodunit investigation using the very latest scientific understanding of our body's sensory network. We are going to track down the invisible culprits causing this crazy sensation. Because, your body is essentially playing a very elaborate prank on you by sending out these false alarms. And to figure out why, we need to track down 5 distinct, completely invisible mechanisms that trigger this sensation. We can group these into 3 main culprit areas, looking at everything from the very surface of your skin all the way down to the super complex workings of your central nervous system. Think of it like a lineup of invisible suspects, and we're going to unmask every single one of them. So let's start our investigation right at the scene of the crime. Culprit number 1, nerves and skin. Here's where we meet our very first suspect, which we'll call trickster nerves. Your skin is packed with these tiny nerve endings that act like a highly advanced security system. They're meant to send signals to your brain when they detect, say, a bug crawling on you. But sometimes, these nerves just misfire. Your body basically panics and thinks, "Invader, sound the alarm." But what's actually happening is, well, far less dramatic. A nerve might just fire off an itch signal entirely by mistake, maybe because it's slightly compressed by the way you're sitting, or randomly irritated, or honestly, just because it's bored. The signal reaches your brain, and your brain obediently barks an order to your hand, scratch it, even though the threat doesn't even exist. And this brilliantly illustrates our next point, which is the sponge effect. Now, you might think your skin has to look visibly flaky or really ashy to actually be considered dry, but that's not true at all. If the very top layer of your skin loses just a tiny, microscopic bit of moisture, it behaves exactly like a sponge drying out on your kitchen counter. It shrinks and it tightens, and that incredibly mild, totally invisible tension is actually enough to physically pull on an itch sensor and trigger a signal. You don't need a visible rash for this. Really simple, everyday things in your environment, running the AC, sitting near a space heater, or just taking a hot shower can cause this invisible dehydration and tension. Moving inward now to our systemic triggers. Culprit number 2, chemistry and hormones. Have you ever felt a sudden, prickly itch right after you get a little bit sweaty or maybe step into a really hot room? Well, that is what we call a histamine hiccup. Now, histamine is a chemical your body famously releases to fight off invaders. Like when you have an allergic reaction to pollen or you get a bee sting. But sometimes your body just gets confused. It mistakenly releases a small burst of histamine simply because you got hot, started sweating, or even just had your clothes rub against your skin a little too much. And bam, this triggers a mild itchy flash. But because there's no actual allergen to fight off, this phantom itch usually fades away within just a few minutes, leaving you sitting there wondering what on earth just happened. Let's move to and see how this builds when we consider broader biological changes, because they play a massive role too, specifically aging and hormones. As we age, our skin naturally gets thinner and produces way less of its protective oils. And this naturally makes those little nerve endings more exposed, making them way more prone to misfiring. On top of that, natural hormone shifts, particularly monthly hormone cycles in women, can actively lower your body's itch threshold. So what does that actually mean? It means your nerves become completely hypersensitive. A sensation that your brain would normally just ignore, like, say, a feather-light touch from a stray thread on your shirt, suddenly crosses that lowered threshold and registers as a highly distracting, annoying itch. And that brings us to culprit number 3, the bored brain. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it reveals the major twist in our mystery. The call is coming from inside the house. When you're sitting perfectly still on the couch or lying in bed just trying to sleep, your brain suddenly finds itself without a whole lot of external stimulation. It basically doesn't have a lot to do. So, much like a bored security guard just staring at a bank of monitors, it starts looking for trouble. It actively scans your body for issues to fix. It hones in on a tiny, completely normal sensation, maybe literally a single hair bending against a bedsheet. And because it has nothing better to do, it takes that sensation and amplifies it into a blaring itch, purely to stay busy and give you a task to complete. Crazy, right? All right, our suspects are unmasked. Let's talk about how to defeat the itch. With our investigation complete, we can finally move on to actionable solutions. So the crucial point is rule number 1, do not scratch. I know. Everything inside you is demanding that you just rake your fingernails across your skin, but you absolutely have to resist. Why? Well, because when you scratch, you're actually validating your brain's false alarm. You're sending a physical signal back saying, yes, absolutely, this is an important issue, keep focusing on it. Scratching a phantom itch doesn't cure it at all. It literally trains your brain to just keep sounding the alarm. So instead of scratching, we're going to use a precise, totally science-backed tactile procedure. Step 1, as we just covered, keep those fingernails away. Step 2, pat the area firmly. This introduces a totally different physical sensation that competes with the itch signal, but without damaging the skin. Step 3, rub the area with a cold water bottle or an ice pack. Guys, this is the absolute secret weapon. Cold temperatures travel along the exact same nerve pathways as the itch sensation, but, and here's the magic, cold moves faster. It literally overrides it. The cold stops the itch signal dead in its tracks. And finally, step 4, distract yourself for just 2 minutes. Remember the bored brain we talked about? Just give it a different job to do. Read a paragraph, do a little puzzle, talk to someone. Within 2 minutes, the false alarm will almost always completely vanish. Now, of course, we definitely need to establish a clear medical safety net here. While the phantom itch is perfectly normal, you shouldn't just ignore everything. If the itch is relentless, if it's happening all day long, if it's severe enough to keep you awake night after night, or for sure if it's accompanied by a visible rash, blisters, or any physical swelling, okay, that is no longer a phantom itch. That's a real physical issue, and that is exactly when you should abandon the home remedies and go see a doctor. But if you don't have those severe symptoms, you can totally relax. That random annoying little tickle on your shoulder when you're just trying to watch TV, it's really nothing to worry about. It is just your incredibly complex nervous system doing a little routine self-maintenance, or your body simply hitting its sensory reset button. So the very next time you feel that phantom tickle while you're sitting perfectly still, ask yourself, is this the sponge effect, a histamine hiccup, or just my bored brain looking for a job to do? Try the cold water trick. Wait your 2 minutes and watch the whole mystery just disappear. But it does kind of make you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, if your brain is willing to completely fabricate an intense physical sensation simply because it's bored for 5 minutes, what other tricks is it playing on your reality right now? Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you guys in the next explainer.